Hey fellow editors, this is Fred, also known as Serrator, and we're going to look at how I guess paint on clothing for these fantasy surreal type images and give that a go. So first I just want to thank my daughter for posing for this picture. She's a good sport and she'll do that kind of stuff for me. So she's 14 and thought I better try to get some pictures now before she gets out and we don't get to see her as much. So anyway, I want to thank her, so thank you. And now I've already got a bunch of layers already here, as you can see, but because we're limited in the amount of time, because I think these videos can only be 10 minutes long if I post them on YouTube, so y'all can download them, watch them, but so I'm going to try to keep it under that constraint. So it may be two parts of this. And anyway, I've got my image, and when you start one, you'll either have a posed image or find one that you have some kind of thought you want to, how you want to edit it. So it's always good to have a goal on what you want to do and what you're trying to achieve. And in this case, I knew I wanted to have her holding this whimsical glowing orb and put her in a surreal looking robe. So that was my base for this pose, this image. So let's the first thing I want to do is create a new layer. So we just click on our create a new layer. I'm going to call it robe, and get a brush, make sure opacity's up, make sure our hardness is all the way, get a size. I'm going to stay zoomed out like this so we can see everything all of it at one time versus zooming in, which I normally would do, but for the sake of this little video, which I know when it gets converted and compressed to the YouTube format it's probably going to look even uglier, but that's what we have to live with. So let's pick a color, any color, doesn't matter, because you can adjust it later to whatever suits your fancy. And what I do is I normally just start with the main body and just kind of, I'm not going to do the sleeves part, but just do the robe part. So just come around here and just kind of follow the flow of the body and generate just the outer torso portion of the robe, and maybe it comes around here. And right now I'm using my mouse, but I will be using my pressure tablet or Wacom tablet, and I would suggest if you don't have one, I think you can probably still do this, but it is much simpler to do with that and much more effective, I guess. Right now I'm just painting in the robe portion with a brush, so I'm just solid color, nothing changed. So just kind of being real sloppy here. You don't have to be real exact, just make sure you get it all the bits covered up. You could fill it in with a paint bucket too if you wanted, but being a little bit more hands-on here, I like to do it the old-fashioned way, I guess. So we're just going to paint it in real quickly here, and something like that. Now some of you might ask, well, why didn't we mask out my daughter first from the background? Well, you could do that, but really I think it makes more sense to wait and do the masking more after you get done with putting on the clothing, because then you can save yourself a lot of masking that you wouldn't necessarily have to do. So anyway, we got the main robe. Let's go ahead and do the hood or whatever that thing is in the back that I made. So it just kind of swings that through here and kind of comes back like this. So you can just be real slow. But anyway, the only parts that are really going to show are behind her head, so we'll just fill in these areas for now. So, and like such. Now I'm going to turn that off. We're going to create a new layer. We're going to call this sleeves, because we're going to do her sleeves. And same color, same brush size. I'm just going to start. Now I'm going to start with the collar or cuff area here. make it droop down, gives me a reference, and bring it back up and follow the arm, go up around. Of course I can go through the finger and come mask it later, but I'm just kind of quickly doing this. So it's going to fill in where all this is going to be, so just cover it all up. This will all be over her arm. And so just paint it up. And of course now we got to do in here too, so let's make the brush a little bigger. Actually, I didn't need to go that high with it, but we undo that. Just to see, it only really needs to go around here, leave her arm, because her arm is on this side of the robe. So there's one robe, or one sleeve, and then we're going to do the other one real quickly. Now this one is going to be kind of hanging down further, because it's going to be bunched up, because she's got her arm lifted up, so we want to kind of make it look as such. And kind of bunch it up through here and kind of come down. And again, this is sloppily done. I do my first cut, I do it pretty sloppy and just kind of refine it as I go, but that's up to you. I would kind of do it like this. Okay, now last thing I do is I fill this in to kind of, because once you lose that reference it kind of gets a little more awkward in what you're looking at. Alright, so we got the sleeves. So we got the robe, turn it back on, the sleeves. Now, one of the important things that we're going to do and learn, and the key to a lot of painting these clothes to make them look somewhat real, is you want to select, let's just start with the robe. Want to start with the robe, go to layer, select layer, and see this little checkbox here is use previous layer to create clipping mask. You want to select that. Next thing you want to do is go to linear burn. That will turn on this little checkbox, fill with linear burn, neutral color, and it's white. So we want to select that. So key thing, select this, go to linear burn mode, and select this here for your layer mask. And you can see it created this right here and has a little arrow clipping mask, so we know that it's attached to this robe. So what that means is when I pick, I'm going to pick black because we're on a linear burn. You can use other colors, but I'm going to use black, and we're going to change our opacity down to about somewhere 10, 12, somewhere in there, 13. Brush size, we want to make it very soft all the way down, and this is where you just want to kind of start painting and following the flow of the robe. And right now we're only doing the robe. As you can see, the other parts are hidden because of the sleeves, so we're just kind of creating some creases here coming down the robe. Nothing too spectacular. And I'm going to increase my brush size and just kind of turn my opacity down a little bit more, and I'm just going to kind of darken this whole area just a little bit to kind of give it a little more. I'm going to darken the hood up here. I want to make my brush size a little smaller. Maybe paint some straight lines for this because that's how they kind of look, I think. And the key here is you can see when I go outside of the robe it doesn't do anything because we got the clipping mask, and that's really important, so you'll make sure you check that box. And I'm about out of my 10-minute time frame, so we're going to have to go to part 2.